Assalamu alaikum. Dear viewers and followers, welcome to economics.com 0.2, where we explain economics in a simple and very easy way. In our last video, we explored economics equilibrium, where demand and supply, where a demand curve and supply curves balance each other, where they intersect to each other is called equilibrium point. Today, we dive into a market disequilibrium, its causes and its consequences. Stay tuned and do not forget to like and subscribe and share your thought into a comment box. Market disequilibrium. Market disequilibrium occurs when supply and demand are not balanced, leading to either excess of supply, also known as a surplus, or excess demand, will call a shortage, while equilibrium in a real world factor often prevent a market for achieving it. In a perfectly balanced market, supply and demand meet at a single point called equilibrium, but in a reality, market don't always function that smoothly. When supply and demand curve not balance, we encounter a state of market is disequilibrium. This imbalance can lead to two possible outcomes. One is shortage, second is surplus. What is shortage? Shortage is also known as a excess of demand, occurs when the quantity demand exceeded and quantity supplied. This shift happened when prices are set too low. Consumer want more of the product, but producer cannot or do not supply enough to meet the demand. Think about a sudden rise in demand for electric car. If manufacturers cannot keep up, dealership run out of a stock, causing a shortage. On the other hand, surplus or excess of supply happen when the quantity supplied exceed the quantity demanded. This usually occurs when prices are set to a high. Producer make a more of the product than a consumer are willing to buy then at the price. For instance, if a clothing brand produces too many winter jackets but demand remain low due to a mild winter, stores will have excess stock, forcing them to lower prices or face losses. Market disequilibrium. Market disequilibrium is a situation where internal and external forces prevent a market equilibrium from being reached or causes the market to fall out of a balance. This can be short-term, byproduct of a change in a variable factor or a result of a long-term structural imbalance. We can illustrate this with a simple graph displayed here. This diagram illustrates a two key situation in the market. It's a market surplus here, green, and a market shortage, it's red color. On the left side, we see a situation of a market surplus. This occurs when the prices level P1 is set above the equilibrium price. At this higher price, supplier produce more than what consumer are willing to buy. This results in an excess supply, also known as a surplus. The shaded green area represent the surplus, where a quantity supply Q2 is greater than the quantity demand Q1. To correct this imbalance, the market must lower the prices of encourage demand and reduce excess supply, moving back toward equilibrium. On the second side, we see situation of a market shortage. This happens when a market price level P1 is the set below the equilibrium price. At these prices, consumer want to buy more than what the supplier are willing to produce. This creates an excess demand or shortage shown by the red shadow area. Here, quantity demanded Q2 is greater than the quantity supplied. Quantity 1 is to fix his imbalance prices, need to raise, encouraging more production while reducing the excess demand, eventually restoring the equilibrium. In these both cases, the market naturally faces a price toward equilibrium unless external forces such as government policies, prevention and adjustment. Understanding these dynamics help explain why economics fluctuation in a real-world market. Causes of market disequilibrium. One of the key reasons of disequilibrium is a government intervention. Policies like price ceilings, such as rent controls, can lead to shortages, while price floors like minimum wages can result a surplus. Change in demand and supply. Change in consumer preference or a supply chain disruption can also cause an imbalance. A sudden increase in our demand for electric car, for example, might create a shortage, while geopolitical issues in disrupt oil supply, creating a surplus. This image illustrated three different causes of how changes in a demand and supply affect a market equilibrium. Let's break down them. Increase in demand. Situation A. In the first graph, we observe an increase in demand. Initially, the market is at equilibrium point at point E0, where the original demand curve is T0 intersects with the supply curve S0. However, due to the factors like rising consumer income, changing a preference, or increased in populations, demand shift from D0 to D1. This causes a rightward shift of the demand curve. As a result, the new equilibrium point moves to E0 to E1, where the new demand curve D1 intersects a supply at a higher price P1 and a higher quantity Q1. This reflects how increased demand leads to higher prices and a greater output in the market. Case B. In the second graph, we see a decrease in supply. Initially, the market equilibrium is at a E0, where the original supply curve is S0 intersects with the demand curve D0. However, if the production cost increases or raw material become scarce, or supply chain disruptions occur, the supply curve shifts are leftward from S0 to S1. This creates a new equilibrium at E1, where the supply rises to P1 but the quantity available in the market reduces to Q1. This shows how a reduction in a supply causes the prices to rise while limiting market output. In case 3, in third graph, we see a simultaneous increase in demand and a decrease in supply. The demand curve shift rightward from D0 to D1, while the supply curve shift leftward from S0 to S1. This creates a sharp rise in a price from P0 to P1, but the effect on a quantity depends on the magnitude of shift. If demand increases significantly while supply contracts slightly, quantity could still rise. However, if supply shrinks drastically while a demand increases slightly, quantity could decline. In this case, often happen during the economic crisis, where a higher consumer demand clashes where a reduced supply driving infections. External shocks. Next causes of disequilibrium of markets. Natural disaster and economic downturns can unexpectedly shift markets conditions. A financial recession reduces consumer spending power, affecting the supply and demand. Next is market imperfections. Market failures such as monopolies limiting a supply or lack of proper information also contribute to the market disequilibrium. These inefficiencies disturb the balance of demand and supply. This diagram illustrates the concept of market imperfection, which occurs when there are inefficiencies in that way the market function, preventing them from reaching equilibrium. On the graph, we see two curves. the demand bid function and a supply bid function. Ideally, in a perfectly competitive market, these two functions should meet at a single equilibrium point, ensuring efficient pricing and a resource allocation. However, in the real world, market's imperfection causes a gap between these functions, leading to inefficiencies. In the space between these curves represent the market imperfections, which can arise due to several factors including monopolies, lack of competition, information, and government regulations. These imperfections disrupt the natural balance of supply and demand, resulting in higher prices, lower outputs, and reduced market efficiencies. Consequences of market disequilibrium. When market imperfection exists, prices often do not reflect truly supply and demand. This can lead to overpricing, underproduction, or excessive market power by dominant player. Policymaker and economists attempt to reduce this imperfection through adjust laws, better transparency, and regulatory reforms to make a more and more efficient. Shortage limit consumer access to goods, leading to black market and raising the prices. Surplus businesses struggle to sell excess goods, leading to worst and unemployment. Economic efficiencies. Resources are misallocated, slowing economic growth. Policy responses is a government may intervene with subsidized taxes or rationing. These are all also causes of consequences of market disequilibrium. If we link this with real world example, is a preferred example is a rental control in major cities. Prices ceilings on a rental lead to a housing shortage and a landlord reduces supply. Minimum wage laws, while beneficial for a worker, can sometimes create a labor market surplus, resulting in unemployment. Government often set a price floor for the agriculture production, leading to excess crop production and a wastage. The main point is how market adjusts back to a equilibrium. Market naturally adjusts over the time. When there is a surplus, prices drop to increases demand and reduced supplies. When there is a shortage, prices rises, motivating a more production and controlling demand. This self-regulating mechanism helps to market find a balance again. This diagram illustrated how market naturally adjusted back to the equilibrium when faced either surplus is excess of supply or a shortage is excess of demands. First of all, understanding of the market equilibrium. At the center of the graph, we see the equilibrium point market as E. E is denoted by equilibrium. This is where demand curve D and supply curve is C intersected with each other, setting the ideal market price and quantity. When a market is in equilibrium, the quantity supplied equal to the quantity demand, and there are no shortage or no surplus. What happens when prices are too high? It leads to surpluses. If the price is too high, above equilibrium as season at 1.80 per gallon, producers supply more than a consumer and willing to buy. This leads to excess supply or a surplus, represented by the shaded area above equilibrium. In response, equilibrium lowers price to encourage a more consumption while reducing the excess production. As a price drop, the market moves downward along the supply curve and back toward equilibrium. What happens when prices are too low? Leads to shortage. When the price is set too low, below the equilibrium point, like $1 per gallon, consumer demand more than what supplier and willing to provide. this resulting in excess demand or a shortage, shown in the lower shaded regions. To correct this imbalance, prices increases, discouraging excess demand while intervening more supply. As the prices rises, the market move upward along and supply curves, eventually returning to the equilibrium point. How market itself corrected? This natural prices adjustment process. This is a key feature of our free market prices. Free market prices. Prices act as a signal. Higher prices tell a producer to increase the supply, while lower prices tell them to reduce the output. Similarly, consumers respond to price by adjusting their purchasing behavior. Unless external factors like government intervention, regulations, or a supply chain disruption interfere, market will naturally adjust to restore the equilibrium over the time. Market, in the conclusion, market is the point where supply and demand meet. When prices are too high or supply surplus from leading to downward prices adjustment, where prices are too low, shortage occurs, pushing the prices back up. This self-regulation is a mechanism that our responses are efficiently located in the economy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video lectures, hit the like button and subscribe for more economic lectures. Follow us on our social media for more updates. See you in the next video.